My name is Justine Nettleton, and I have chosen Martin Luther, the father of the Protestant Reformation, for this video presentation. The historical background: Martin Luther was born in the small town of Eisleben, Germany. His father and mother were peasants, but they were Christians and they prayed. His father worked diligently to save up money so that his son, Martin Luther, could go to school, ultimately to become a lawyer. However, to his father's dismay, Martin Luther decided to become a monk, and he joined the order of the Augustinian hermits in Erfurt, Germany. He was a fantastic student from being a young child. He studied very hard. He was an average student, but he worked hard, so he usually finished his work and studies early. Through all of this, he thought that with his studies and becoming a monk, that he would find peace because he believed in the doctrine of salvation by works. I think that was the general belief at the time. Most laity were subservient to the leadership in the Catholic Church, and most people, if you weren't wealthy or royalty, you didn't know how to read, and the Catholic services were in Latin, and so the Bibles were also written in Latin, which was a challenge for anyone to read if they didn't know Latin, and at the same time, most of your illiterate masses couldn't read the Bible anyways and make decisions on their own about their salvation. The picture you have here is the title page of the New Testament that Martin Luther wrote in German. He translated it from Latin. The Catholic Church was corrupt, and it was wealthy because of that corruption. It was able to make money on indulgences in which they sold, like a letter of indulgence to a sinner, a believer, but a sinner, because that was the only way a sinner could reduce the amount of punishment they would receive in purgatory. Because on their own, they were never able to be perfect. A person could never be perfect on their own. They could never know God on their own. They could only know God through the Catholic Church and through the priest and through the Pope. So for the word of faith, as a illiterate, it was difficult for anyone to understand that because they couldn't read. So this is where the Protestant Reformation began, and the turning point for Christianity in the Catholic Church. And of course, this is all started because of Martin Luther. His philosophy of education. He was adamant about the importance of the priesthood of the believer, or the universal priesthood, which meant that the educational system had to provide for the masses, for all people, no matter what societal level they were. They needed to have the opportunity to at least receive a basic education so that they could read. Therefore, by having that education, a person, the laity, would be able to read the Bible and discern biblical truths for themselves. They would be able to understand that they were part of the kingdom of kings and priests. They would be able to understand by studying the biblical scriptures that it wasn't by works that they were saved, but by faith that they were saved. And this was a extremely important point that Martin Luther wanted to make to the masses. The people needed to be able to read the word on their own to make a decision as to whether those indulgences were something they actually wanted to pay for or not. But that would be a decision they would make on their own. The other thing was that many people became part of the Crusades because the church told them they needed to be to make up for sins. And in this way, by reading the Bible, they would know they didn't need to join the Crusades if they didn't want to. But public education, free public education, was necessary according to Martin Luther so that people could read the word. It was also important to Martin Luther that education have theology, have the Bible, that people could study to show themselves approved unto God. Now, this was not his verses, what I took from 2 Timothy 2:15, but it was important to Martin Luther that people could make their own choices. He didn't believe that any parent should put their kids or students into any educational arena that did not study theology.